Stockholm, 1984. A summer of light, long days. Short nights when the Swedish capital should have been alive with warmth and order. Instead, it was a summer of horror. Along a highway, stuffed inside plastic bags, human remains were discovered. Arms, legs, a torso, carefully dismembered, coldly discarded. The victim, a young woman named Catrine da Costa. Her head was never found. The case that followed would become one of Sweden's most infamous mysteries, a story of sex work, misogyny, trial by media, and a justice system that never delivered answers. Decades later, her name still carries a chill. This is the haunting case of Catrine da Costa. Chapter 1. Sweden in the 1980s. Sweden in the 1980s looked, on the surface, like a model of progress. A wealthy nation, a safe nation, a society that trusted its institutions. But beneath that polished exterior, cracks were spreading. Prostitution remained visible in Stockholm, especially along Malmskillnadsgatan. By day, it was just another street. By night, it was lined with women selling sex to survive, watched constantly by police, harassed by passers-by, and judged by society. At the same time, heroin and amphetamines carved through communities, fueling desperation. Addiction was common among those pushed to the margins. And in this world, women like Catrine were treated as disposable. Crimes against them rarely carried the urgency of crimes against respectable citizens. Yet Sweden's faith in authority figures, doctors, lawyers, police, was immense. These were the pillars of society, untouchable and unquestioned. This tension, the neglect of vulnerable women, and the untouchable status of powerful men would define the story of Catrine da Costa. Chapter 2. Who was Catrine da Costa? Behind the tabloid headlines was a woman with a life, a family, and a story. Catrine Beatrice Bäckström was born in 1956 in Luleå, northern Sweden. She grew up like many others, with hopes, with family, with a future. She married young and had a child. For a time, life was stable, but addiction crept in, and stability slipped away. Her marriage broke down. She lost custody of her son. By the early 1980s, Catrine was living precariously in Stockholm, drifting between lodgings, battling addiction, and surviving through sex work on Malmskillnadsgatan. Those who knew her described her as vulnerable but spirited. She had friends among the women of the street, women who watched each other's backs. She was known, familiar, but she was also at constant risk from violent clients, from the stigma of police, from the indifference of society. In June 1984, that risk became reality. Catrine disappeared. Chapter 3. The Disappearance. The last confirmed sighting was around June 10, 1984. She was seen along Malmskillnadsgatan, the same district where she often worked. Her mother soon reported her missing, but police were indifferent. Women like Catrine came and went, they said. Maybe she'd left town. Maybe she was on a binge. Her disappearance didn't trigger alarms. It was treated almost as routine. But her community knew better. Catrine had a rhythm, a pattern, familiar haunts. She didn't simply vanish. Something was wrong. Weeks passed, no answers. Until a discovery in the summer heat changed everything. Chapter 4. The Grim Discovery. On July 18th, 1984, plastic bags were found beneath a highway in Solna, just outside central Stockholm. Inside, human body parts. Arms, legs, a torso. 3 weeks later, on August 7th, more bags were discovered. The remains were identified as Catrine da Costa, but her body was incomplete. Her head was missing. Her internal organs, one breast, hair genitalia, they were never recovered. The dismemberment was careful, almost surgical. Some experts said it showed medical skill. Others disagreed. But one fact was chillingly certain. Without her head, the cause of death could never be established. Pause abate. The police now had a murder investigation. The public had a scandal. And Sweden had the beginnings of a nightmare that would never end. Chapter 5. Early Investigation. Forensic pathologist Jovan Raj led the autopsy. He noted the skill, but cautioned against assumptions. Yes, the cuts were careful, but were they surgical? That was less clear. More importantly, he could not determine how Catrine had died. This uncertainty crippled the investigation from the start. Police questioned pimps, clients, addicts, anyone from the red light district, but no solid leads emerged. Then whispers began. What if a professional was involved? Someone with anatomical knowledge? Someone who knew how to make a body disappear? That suspicion would soon explode into scandal when attention turned to two doctors. Recap. June 10th. Catrine last seen. July 18th. First body parts found in Solna. August 7th. More remains discovered. Head never recovered. Cause of death unknown. Police searching. Whispers grow, and suspicion shifts toward men. No one wanted to imagine guilty. Chapter 6. The doctors accused. Two men emerged as suspects. Tiet Herm, a forensic pathologist, known to visit sex workers, known to colleagues as eccentric. His ex-father-in-law raised troubling concerns. And Thomas Algen, a general practitioner. His wife spoke of disturbing incidents in their home. Most chilling of all, their toddler allegedly described seeing something interpreted as witnessing a body being cut apart. By the late 1980s, both men stood accused in what became known as the Stickmordsrättegången, the dismemberment murder trial. In 1987, the first proceedings began. The prosecution argued the doctors lured Catrine, killed her, dismembered her, and disposed of the remains. The motive? Sexual deviance, opportunity, arrogance, the belief that professionals could get away with it. The defense countered. The evidence was weak, the child's testimony unreliable, forensic claims exaggerated. With no head, no cause of death, there could be no proof of murder. The verdict stunned the nation. The court declared the men not guilty of murder. But in a bizarre twist, the ruling still claimed they had likely dismembered Catrine's body. Not guilty, but branded forever. Chapter 7. Media. Public opinion. The media went wild. Headlines screamed, "Doctors of death!" But the way the press told the story revealed society's biases. Catrine became a stereotype, the prostitute cut into pieces. Her humanity was buried under her label. Meanwhile, the doctors were framed as tragic figures, respected men destroyed by suspicion, victims of a witch hunt. Public opinion split. Feminist groups demanded justice, calling the case proof of how little Sweden valued women like Catrine. Demonstrations erupted. Protest signs read, "She was a woman. She was a mother. She was human." Others defended the doctors, insisting they were wrongly ruined. The case became more than a murder mystery. It was a mirror reflecting Sweden's prejudice, misogyny, and the question of whose lives mattered. Chapter 8. Theories. Speculation. Without closure, theories multiplied. The doctor's theory. They killed her, even if the court never proved it. Client or pimp theory. Violence in the sex trade was common. Could a client have exploded in rage? Serial killer theory. Other dismemberment cases in Sweden around the same time, including Stanislaw Gunerka, made some believe a predator was at large. Cover-up hypothesis. The missing head. The missing organs. Was this deliberate? A calculated move to block cause of death? Each theory raised questions. None brought answers. Chapter 9. Legacy of the case. For Catrine's family, there was no justice. Her mother died without closure. Her son grew up with fragments of a nightmare. For the doctors, acquittal brought no peace. Both lost their licenses. Both lived under suspicion. They were never convicted, but never free. For Sweden, the case became legend. Books, documentaries, endless debate. Even Stieg Larsson's Millennium Trilogy drew inspiration from the scandal. But the legacy was one of failure. A young woman was butchered, a nation judged, and no one was held accountable. Chapter 10. Lingering Questions. Modern Context. Decades later, the questions remain. Why was her head never found? Hidden? Destroyed? Kept as a trophy? Did police fixate on the doctors too quickly, overlooking other suspects? Could modern DNA or genealogy finally reveal the truth? Or has time erased it forever? What is certain is this: Catrine da Costa was more than the headlines. She was a mother, a daughter, a woman who mattered. Her death exposed dark truths about power, prejudice, and justice. And until the answers come, her story will remain one of Sweden's most haunting mysteries. Stockholm, 1984. A woman's body in bags, a head never recovered. A trial that split a nation. The name Catrine da Costa lingers like a ghost. Her story is a reminder. Truth can be buried, not just under evidence, but under prejudice, rumor, and silence. 40 years on, one question still cuts through the fog. Who killed Catrine da Costa? Until that answer is known, the shadows will never fade.